The European Union has put a temporary stop on moving forward with its trade agreement with the United States. This happened because of new questions about tariffs. Those are extra taxes on imported goods that President Donald Trump announced recently. The news comes from reports by DW and other major outlets, and it's unfolding right now in late February 2026. Back in July 2025, leaders from the EU and the US worked out a deal at a meeting in Turnberry, Scotland. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and President Trump agreed on it. The main idea was to set a top limit of 15% tariffs on most goods coming from Europe into the US. In return, the EU would drop or lower many of its own tariffs on American industrial products, like machines, cars, chemicals, and other factory-made items. People called this the Turnberry Agreement or the EU-US Framework Agreement for Reciprocal, Fair, and Balanced Trade. The goal was simple: make trade smoother across the Atlantic, help businesses grow, protect jobs, and keep prices from jumping too high for everyday shoppers. This agreement isn't fully active yet. It needs official okay from the European Parliament, where lawmakers elected from all 27 EU countries vote and from the governments of those countries. A big step was supposed to happen this week. The Parliament's Trade Committee planned to vote on removing EU import duties on many US industrial goods. That vote would have been a key move toward full approval. But everything changed after a ruling from the US Supreme Court last week. The court said many of President Trump's earlier broad tariffs around the world were not allowed under the law he used. In quick response, the president put in place a new blanket 15% tariff on imports from almost everywhere, including the EU. These new tariffs started on Tuesday, February 24, 2026. They are set to last only up to 150 days unless Congress steps in to keep them going or make them permanent. European officials are concerned. The original deal promised a 15% cap specifically for EU goods. Now with this new across-the-board tariff, some worry it could mean higher costs on certain products or go against what was promised. They want to know exactly how the new rules fit with the Turnberry deal. Will the agreement still hold as written? Are there any add-ons or changes that break the promises? Because of this uncertainty, the European Parliament's Trade Committee decided to delay the planned vote. Bernd Lange, who chairs the committee, explained it clearly. He said the situation is now more uncertain than ever, and it goes against the stability and predictability the deal was meant to bring. He stressed that lawmakers want full clarity from the United States that they are respecting the deal. Without that, they can't move ahead. A spokesman for the European Commission, Olaf Gil, echoed the same thought. He said Brussels is looking forward to American officials explaining precisely what is happening. Until there's clear information from Washington, the EU can't take further steps on the agreement. Germany is stepping up as a key voice here, since it has a lot at stake with big exports to the US like cars and machinery. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz spoke about it at an event in Berlin on Monday. He pointed out how important it is to clear up the confusion fast. Stable relations help industry and workers on both sides of the Atlantic. He said if both sides want to support that stability and do a favor for businesses everywhere, they should end these uncertainties as quickly as possible. Chancellor Merz is expected to travel to Washington soon, maybe this week, to share a united European view on the tariffs. He mentioned that the EU has strong options if talks don't work out, including one tool people call the trade bazooka. That's a way for the EU to limit access to its huge market of over 450 million people if needed in a trade fight. But he made it clear he doesn't want to go there. He said he's confident a solution can be found without using that tool, though if it becomes necessary, it will have to be considered. This isn't the first time the process has slowed down. Back in January 2026, lawmakers paused things when President Trump talked about extra tariffs on some European countries over disagreements about Greenland. That issue eased a bit and work picked up again, until this latest tariff move brought everything to a halt once more. The EU plans to look at the situation again on March 4, when lawmakers will check if there's new information from the US. If things get clarified and the deal looks solid, approval could restart. If not, more delays or even responses from Europe might come. Why does any of this matter to regular families? Trade between the US and EU involves huge amounts of money, billions in goods moving back and forth every year. When tariffs are low and predictable, it often means more choices in stores and steadier prices for things like vehicles, electronics, clothing, or even some food items that come from across the ocean. Uncertainty or higher tariffs can push companies to raise costs, which affects household budgets. It can also put pressure on jobs in industries that sell goods overseas, whether that's American farmers shipping to Europe or European factories sending cars to the US. Both sides have good reasons to want this to work. The US is a major market for European products, and Europe buys a lot from American companies too. Leaders keep saying a deal is a deal. They want the July 2025 promises kept without surprises. Right now, the approach is to talk things out. European officials are asking politely but firmly for details. President Trump's team will need to respond soon to keep momentum. German Chancellor Merz's visit could help move conversations forward. This story is still developing fast. Markets reacted with some drops in European stocks when the news broke, showing how connected global trade is to everyday economics. But officials on both sides seem focused on finding a path that keeps trade fair and flowing. In the end, the EU is taking a careful pause to protect the agreement they worked hard to reach. Everyone hopes for quick answers from Washington so the process can get back on track. Stable trade benefits workers, businesses, and families here in the US and over in Europe. Clear rules and trust between partners make that possible. We'll see what happens in the coming days as more talks take place and details emerge.